Hello, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session, part 8. Today we shall be looking at how does EMaSS handle domestic workers such as cook, driver, security guard, etc. in estate information management and surveillance system, EMaSS. Now these are the risks associated with hiring of domestic staffs in Nigeria. EMaSS was designed by a Nigerian software developer to address insecurity in Nigeria posed by domestic workers. Now, these are some of the risks that you may face hiring domestic staff in Nigeria. The risk would include kidnapping. They could kidnap you or members of your family. Domestic staff could, organize armed robbery, theft, or they could even kill their employer, as we're going to show some scenarios from national newspapers in Nigeria. Now, what are the causes of this risk? According to Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics Quarter 2 of 2020 unemployment report, for the period under review, that is Q2 2020, the unemployment rate among young people between the ages of 15 and 34 years was 34.9%, against 29.7% in Q3 2018, while the rate of unemployment for same age group rose to 28.2% from 25.7% in Q3 2018. These rates were the highest when compared to other age grouping. Now, this is the main causes of kidnapping, theft, robbery, killing of employer by the domestic staff. High rate of employment. You could see the age range between 15 and 34. This is active productive age. But these guys don't have anything doing. They get into menial job, they get into domestic job, and would turn, because of poor salary, they then intend to look for other avenues of making money that also forces them into this crime. This is what we think at EMaSS that is the main reason for kidnapping, theft, robbery, and even killing of the employer by the domestic workers in Nigeria. Now let's look at a few newspaper reports to sustain our argument. Vanguard newspaper of 26 November 2020. Police arrest a domestic worker over alleged killing of former boss. The police command in Nasarawa State said it has arrested a 27-year-old domestic worker for allegedly killing his former employer, Martin Zomeri. The deceased was a deputy chief auditor in the office of the Accountant General of Federation in Abuja, Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria. The report said the victim, who lived at Navy Estate, Karu local government area of the state, was killed on the 9th of November 17 while asleep. According to the police PRO, the suspect confessed to the crime and narrated how he sneaked into the deceased's apartment on November 17 and killed him using a log of wood while he slept. This is a domestic worker killing his boss. Now let's look at Premium Times, a report from Premium Times, a national newspaper in Nigeria. Now, Premium Times of 20th June 2019, police arrest a domestic staff for allegedly killing employer and an 89-year-old mother. The suspect, identified as Joseph Obu, a native of Oju local government area of Benue State, allegedly committed the act in the early hours of Thursday. Mr. Oju was employed on Tuesday, June 18, 2019, and he allegedly killed his employer 2 days after his employment, according to the newspaper report. The employer, who was murdered, was identified as Mrs. Orelua John, 38 years old, and her 89-year-old mother, Adejoke John. The suspect stabbed Mrs. John to death when he had an argument about cleaning the house. The 89-year-old mother died due to the shock of the incident. According to the police, the suspect claimed that his employer asked him to clean the house at about 9 p.m. on 19 June, but the argument ensued between them, which prompted him to stab her with a knife. The police said after confessing to crime, Mr. Ogbu said he moved some valuable property such as electronic handset and household item into employer's Toyota Camry car and attempted to escape, and he was arrested. Now let's look at another, sad report where a domestic staff actually, and this time a foreigner, a Cameroonian, who is doing domestic staff work in Nigeria actually killed her employer. Now, according to Vanguard newspaper of 28 December 2016, a Cameroonian steward killed boss over December salary. Cameroonian steward Joel Lugo has been arrested for allegedly stabbing his boss to death over unpaid salary at Park View Estate, Ikoyi, Lagos. The deceased, identified as Temidayo Adeleke, has gathered just returned from United States of America, where she was schooling, in preparation for her wedding next coming February, the coming year. Vanguard gathered that the suspect, a cleaner who lived with the victim on Prince Tayo Adesanya Street, demanded part payment for his December salary on Tuesday afternoon. However, Adeleke appealed to him to wait till the next day, explaining that she had no naira note with her. Lugo insisted on remaining in the sitting room with his boss until she paid the money. He was then said to have charged into the kitchen, took out a knife with which he allegedly stabbed Adeleke on her chest. His salary was 27,000 naira per month, but needed 15,000 naira as part payment. Now, these are a few crimes we've been able to document, and if you go to our website, there are lots of crime that we have documented from the police report and from newspaper report about domestic staff violence against their boss. Now, how does EMA addresses this risk? EMA addresses this problem from recruitment process. What we have done in EMaSS is to establish a recruitment process that determine who a domestic worker is. Most of us as drivers, we have cooks, we have nanny, we have housekeepers. We don't even have data about these people. So what we're helping Nigerians to do is to establish a central database where domestic staff will be able to provide data, and will also provide 2 guarantors, and will need the guarantors to provide photographs. The domestic staff will provide photograph, and the type of photograph EMA accepts is a 3/4 portrait size photograph from your waist up to your face. And we don't accept glasses and other things on the photograph, and then all this, and then we get the background of who is he, where is he coming from, is he a Nigerian, is he a Togolese, is he a Ghanaian, is he a Nigerian, which state does he come from. We try to gather all this data in EMaSS. So when there are crimes, we then are able to look for the person. And the reason why we're also getting 2 guarantors as a requirement in EMaSS, to have 2 guarantors for a domestic worker. A domestic worker that needs work here in Nigeria, or and the employer uses EMaSS, it's a mandatory requirement that he has to provide like 2 guarantors. The idea is that if he commits a crime, it widens the search area to actually look for the person that committed the crime. There are basic accounts. These are different kinds of accounts you can obtain in EMaSS to be able to use the domestic workers database. We're doing this as a national database. Anywhere you are in Nigeria and even outside Nigeria, if you want, you can also use this database to manage your domestic staff. You can have 3, 4, 5, 10 staff. You'll be able to gather them, and we'll also help you to validate their data, because very soon we're going to show you the requirement for a domestic worker getting registered and verified by EMaSS. Okay, so there are 3 basic accounts that is required. One is basic account. In basic account, you only have access to EMaSS and your domestic staff. Now, for business account, it takes all the way to guarantors. You need to provide guarantors, and those guarantors must provide means of identification. Okay, and this means of identification, what EMaSS does is to whatever the guarantor provided as a means of a national means of identification. It could be passport, it could be if he's a foreigner, he must have a passport which will accept and validate the record with the immigration office. If it's a national driver's license, we'll go to road safety to verify the information. Okay, and then we have NIM now. We'll also go to NIM's department agency of Nigeria to actually verify information. Now the third account is EMaSS account. Now if your estate deploys EMaSS in their estate, you don't need a business account, you don't need basic account. There is an account that is already allowed you to be able to manage your domestic staff. Now this is the focus of the domestic workers database. Once you register, an account is created for you, you get into a dashboard. So what do you find on a dashboard? Employer will be able to register his domestic worker online. The employer can also send the domestic staff to fill the EMaSS online form, to kickstart the process. And once he finish, he will then fill the email of his guarantors. The system will automatically route the guarantor automatically route the form for guarantorship to the person he has appointed as guarantor. And the guarantor also would be able to click the link on the email, fill the form, and then when he finish filling the form and upload his passport, and then the form will come to us. Another thing you can do, you can actually track payment. Okay, you'll be able to know when you brought in a domestic staff and the salary you pay. If you also increase him salary, it allows you to track salary that are being paid. Another very exciting feature that is in EMaSS database, domestic database, is the employer now has ability to rate and document the experience he has his workers. Okay, we're going to show that, do a demo. And then the employer also, you will be able to use the dashboard to sack your worker or dismiss your worker. And you need to state the reason why the person was sacked. Now, when other employer try to employ the same person that you release, maybe on the basis of crime, if they do a search, if they use our database to search for the data of the domestic staff, they'll be able to see all the places the guy has worked, all the houses he has worked, all the family he has worked with, and the different comments and the reason why he was released. We're trying to make it difficult that when a domestic worker commits crime, he is not able to have another job. Okay. And then, of course, we send questionnaires from time to time to the employer and ask them to rate their domestic staff. So those who does well and are dedicated to their work, they will always get other jobs. But what we're trying to do is to even establish a central database in Nigeria where domestic staff, people can just go in and get information about domestic staff. So what you need to do is we will give you an address. You ask your domestic staff to go there and fill the form online. And you also try and get access from us so that you'll be able to manage your domestic staff. Now, why did we create a domestic staff, a workers database? One, we're trying to provide, in this country, Nigeria, one of the biggest problem is we don't, the access to information keeping, record keeping is very poor, and the access to information is also very poor. So we're, taking it as a responsibility to help the current security challenges in Nigeria and the violence that employers faces with domestic staff, to now provide a national platform where employers would ask their domestic staff to go there and put their data, and they could get access from us and manage their domestic staff. And again, also is to provide a way the security agents can lodge onto the database, even to censor and do a background check for domestic staffs in Nigeria. If they ever pass through our system, then their record, their data, where they come from, their past history, their interaction and where they worked before, and the kind of things they did, the kind of activity that involved them and their former employer, that records will be available online. Now, so when we talk about domestic staffs, we are looking at cleaners, we are looking at security men, we're looking at drivers, we're looking at housekeepers, we're looking at, we're looking at all sorts of people that help a family to run home services. Now, so who should take action? We are calling on all employers of domestic staffs in Nigeria to please take this opportunity. If I do it, the next neighbor do it, the next neighbor does it, then we are now building, inadvertently building a database in Nigeria for domestic workers. Just get your domestic worker to go and fill the form. Get access from us, okay? He goes online, fill the form, and then, we will verify them, we'll verify all the details provided, and then you will have access to your domestic staff, okay? That's all that it requires to take. And like we said before, they must get a guarantor, and the guarantor also there are certain requirements that we put for guarantors. One, they must reside in the state of the work. For instance, if you come to Kano and you're applying for a job, you're a domestic worker, you're looking for a job in Kano, your guarantors must also be residents in Kano, okay? So that we can verify the information, all right? Even your former employer can also be your guarantor if you have good reports, all right? This is how EMaSS verification exercise goes. We check and ensure that all domestic workers in our database have valid means of identification. They must have NIN, they must have BVN or BVN, they must have international passport or driver's license. So whether you're a guarantor, it is now mandatory. Seems there is a law in Nigeria that all citizens of Nigeria must, have NIN, national identification number. So if you're a Nigerian, you must have this number, and if you must engage in domestic, if you must work as a domestic worker, you need to provide your NIN. What our staff will do in EMaSS is to pick that number and go to NIN, and then find out if indeed the data that you give to us is equivalent to data that is also stored in NIN. Okay, they must have a phone number in Nigeria registered in their name. So this is also a requirement because the reason we do this is that if you do NIN, your biometrics will be gotten. If you have a national ID card, if you have a driver's license, biometrics will be gotten by government agency. If you have phone, your biometrics must have been taken. So we then, try to ascertain the identity of the person, looking at all the data around this person in view of the data he provides. So we do a little bit of check, and we also check with the police for the states that they are trying to work, if such a person had a criminal record before, and then we provide all that information to the employer. So you can even ask us to verify your driver that is currently working with you. It's not about people who are looking for employment. Those that are currently working with you, you can ask them to do EMaSS verification, all right? So they must have a phone number. It's a requirement now, because through that means we'll be able to get your biometrics. And we've also said that every information they fill on a form must correspond. Their date of birth, their community must correspond to the information that they provided in biometrics. When we find that this information, some of the information that they are providing to the employer is not the same as what was captured in any of these national database, we will notify the employer. They must upload a three-quarter photograph. I've talked about this before. They must have 2 guarantors. Guarantors must also upload a three-quarter portrait photograph. Now we're making it even more difficult. So if you're a good report, somebody should offer to give his own passport. A guarantor must submit his passport. We're, changing our gears. We're changing our requirement because the security situation in Nigeria is so bad. And when it involves a domestic staff killing his host, those are extreme cases. And so we're now tightening all the knobs. We're now tightening all the loose ends to make sure that before you get job, you go through this process. You must be really real for someone to, release his passport, take a photograph and give to you, so that if you commit crime, if we run away, we'll have people to look for on your behalf. Okay, so when we do our EMaSS verification, this is a kind of passport, an ID card that we now generate. Of course, if you also ask if you want to employ an employer and you direct him to EMaSS, he fills a form, he will come back with this ID card. If you see this ID card, you check up with us and we verify that yes, this guy has actually verified his data with us, then you can employ him. And from time to time, and all domestic workers need to go through this exercise every year in our database. We'll ask them to read, validate the data. We'll contact their guarantors, because we have their guarantors' phone numbers, we have email. We contact them and find out if those addresses are still valid. These are things that we do. So if you need more information, please go to myestateaccount.com. You will have all the training sections we have done in Launch and Learn session. And if you want to contact us, please, and you want this application to be installed in your estate, or you just want to have access to the EMaSS domestic workers database, you can send us an email. Our WhatsApp number is already on the screen. Now let's do a live demo of what we're actually talking about. Let's hop into the system and do a live demo. Okay, so when you logged into this is a dashboard that you will have, a membership dashboard. And then if you come down here, when you scroll down, you should be able to have access, see where actions are required, where you can provide data and information about your domestic staff. Okay, so when you logged in, as if you have access to EMaSS or your estate installed EMaSS, you will have access to, if you go to estate accounting software and we create access for you and you apply for access and we grant you access, you should be able to land in a dashboard like this. Okay, so you go to my employee management. The first thing you can do here, you can actually register on your own. You can now you can register your employee yourself, or you ask the employee to come through our portal and register himself. Okay, so let me log on. I've logged on here for a while. Okay, so when you log on, you can actually register. So you type the name of your employee here, the date of birth, when was he born, his gender, whether he's a male or female, is a cook, okay. Marital status, is he married, is he a widow, is he a widow, is he a divorcee, okay. And then you also provide his religion, is he a Christian, is he Islam or other things, okay. Language, what does he speak? He speaks Russian, he speaks English, he speaks French, Spanish, or others. So you provide all that information. Where is he a native of? Okay. If he is Nigeria, you can pick. If it's others, you can pick and then fill in where he's a native of. Okay. You provide his home address. Okay. And the country he comes from, whether he's from Nigeria or he's a Nigerian or not Nigerian, so you will be able to provide that information. Okay, so you provide the state of origin, local government. You need to provide his community name. This is very important. What's your village and what's your community name? And then the date he comes to resume work from you, to work with the employer. Which date did he come? All right. What is he coming to do? Is he a cleaner, a cook, a guard? Okay, so you fill this. And then you come here and upload the photograph of your said or your megad, okay, and we say the photograph size must not be more than 35,000 bytes, that is 35 kilobytes, all right. And then if you also want to reduce the size of the picture, you can actually click here. We've actually provided the requirement. This is this is a sample, okay, so you can see the sample here. And if you want to receive, sometimes you have a picture that is very big and you want to reduce format, you can actually use a tool here. There's an online tool here you can use to reduce your picture. If you can't do, get this picture scanned and sent to our office, will help you do it. Okay, so this is an online tool you can actually use. Load your picture. Okay, you just come here and upload picture and change the size so that the image is not distorted. Okay, so this is what you do, and it's quite easy. If you can't do it, what you do is that email the picture to us, our office. Once you apply, our office will send you information, and then you will then respond, fill our form online, send a photograph for us. We'll be able to upload these pictures on internet. Okay, and then you give you access to your account. Okay, remember I said you could have basic account, you could have business account, and then you could have EMA account. If your estate is already running EMA, you don't need to pay extra. All right. So once you do that, you say register, and that will be automatically registered for you. And then the next thing you can do is that you can create a means of identification. Okay, if you have a passport, your passport expired over a period, so you can actually create an employee means of identification. It allows you to tell us the type of means of identification that you have. For this OCO, these are employer. He has a data, he has Basi, he has Ms. Funke working for her, and these are all the domestic staff for this particular employee. Okay, and then you have to state, are you using NIN, international passport or Nigerian driver's license? You give us the date issued and the date it will expire. So if it expires, you have to go back. We'll get you to go back to government and renew. Once you renew, you are able to also create a new one, in the system. Okay, so this is where we get information about guarantor. You can actually create your guarantor information. Okay, so for instance, Adetayo Samson, you can see here his guarantor is Mr. Henry Fred. Henry Fred has provided his international passport. This is the number of his international. This one issued and this one is going to expire. Okay, as they expire, the status is no. So it is now incumbent on the domestic staff to go and get somebody who will stand in as a guarantor. Number one. Number two, the person must also be willing to provide a photograph, as a means of backup. So that if he commits crime, kill somebody, we'll not just look for him, we'll look for the two people he brought as guarantors. And again, you see a requirement that those guarantors must be married people and must be working in the States, must be married, and married means that they're responsible, they have family, so they can just pick all their family and run away. We have somebody to talk to. We don't allow single people to do guarantor for another single person. So if you want to now, as an employer, you want to check each of your guarantor, you can actually view a data here, and you say view, you click on view. The system gives you, this is a driver, our system will generate number for everyone, a code for everyone that is registered with us. So if you look at this guy here, he's a Christian, he speaks English, his native language is Ijaw, this is his phone number, this is where he lives. His community is called Bovi in Bomadi, Delta State local government area. Okay, he was employed on 2nd of November 2020. He's a driver. Okay, so look at Mr. Fred. The detail of Mr. Fred is also here for this person. So Mr. Fred, who is Mr. Fred to him? His former employer. Okay, Mr. Fred is former employer, and this is the address of former employer. This is his name. This is his phone number. So if Adetayo or Samson commits any crime and then run away, we'll look for Mr. Fred, who is actually his guarantor. Okay, so that's how far we can go. If you need us, if you want this system, please, the addresses are on the screen here. You can contact us with the address that we have provided, and then we'll be able to register you, or you go and apply for access online, or you call on us on WhatsApp number here, and we'll be able to respond to you. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next section.